In life, we often find ourselves surrounded by people who claim to care for us, but their actions speak a different story. The manipulation doesn't always come with loud words or overt gestures. Sometimes it's the subtle actions, the quiet moves that can wound us the deepest. These are the silent games people play with our feelings, the ones we may not immediately recognize, but that leave scars nonetheless. It's the passive-aggressive behavior that cuts deeper than an outright confrontation. They never say it directly, but you feel the sting. It's the kind of manipulation that doesn't come with clear insults, but with quiet actions designed to make you question your worth, your place, and your decisions. At first, you may not even notice it happening. It could be a glance, a comment wrapped in what seems like concern, but you know it didn't feel right. They leave you wondering if you misunderstood or if you're just being too sensitive. And that's exactly the game they're playing, making you doubt your own reality. The person who manipulates you silently has mastered the art of making you question your own perceptions. They know exactly how to twist words in situations so that you end up feeling guilty for something that wasn't even your fault. You find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, taking responsibility for emotions that aren't yours to bear. There's also the silent treatment. When someone withholds their affection or communication to control your behavior, it's a form of manipulation that is hard to pinpoint. It doesn't feel like a fight, it feels like being left out in the cold without any explanation. They don't yell, they don't scream, they don't throw things, they just pull away. And the longer they remain silent, the more you wonder what you did wrong, what you could have done differently. You spend days trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist except in the mind of the one playing games with your emotions. What makes it harder is that these manipulative behaviors are rarely addressed head on. Instead, they fester and grow in the background like a quiet storm that slowly builds up until it overwhelms you. They don't confront you with their issues. Instead, they give you the cold shoulder, withhold affection, or deliver backhanded compliments that leave you feeling off balance. Over time, you start second-guessing your own instincts, unsure of where the relationship truly stands. What's worse, these actions often leave you questioning your own worth. You ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Why does it feel like they're playing with my emotions? But the truth is, they're the ones playing, not you. You see, when someone is playing with your feelings silently, it's not a game where you're both on an equal playing field. They're not trying to build something with you. They're trying to break you down without saying a word. And the longer you stay in that toxic cycle, the harder it becomes to break free from their emotional manipulation. It's important to recognize that these subtle forms of control aren't about love or care, they're about power. And once you see it for what it is, you can begin to guard your heart, your emotions, and your spirit from the silent games that others may try to play with you. When someone plays with your feelings silently, the effect it has on your self-worth can be more damaging than you might initially realize. The scars left by subtle manipulation are not always visible to the naked eye, but they cut deep. Over time, you begin to question your value, your worth, and even your own judgment. These actions, these silent games, wear down the very foundation of who you are. You may find yourself constantly doubting whether you are enough, whether you deserve the love and respect you seek. The more you tolerate these emotional games, the more you allow others to redefine your worth, shifting your focus away from your own intrinsic value and placing it in the hands of those who refuse to treat you with the respect you deserve. It starts innocently enough, a small comment here, a slight dismissal there. At first, it might seem harmless, nothing more than a misunderstanding or a passing moment. But over time, these little jabs, these quiet digs, chip away at your sense of self. They make you wonder, am I overreacting? Am I being too sensitive? And in that moment, you begin to shift responsibility for the situation onto yourself. The problem is never with the person playing games with your feelings. It becomes about you, your reaction, your emotions, your inability to handle the situation. This is the trick. They never take ownership of their actions, but instead they shift the blame back onto you. You start to internalize their behavior and make it about your own shortcomings, your own flaws. It's a dangerous game, and they know how to play it well. As you allow this manipulation to continue, the impact on your self-worth becomes more profound. You start to question the very essence of who you are. The love you once thought was secure becomes a source of confusion. You ask yourself, am I worthy of love? Am I worthy of respect? Why do they treat me this way? But here's the truth, you are worthy. You are deserving of love, respect, and kindness, but when you allow someone to play with your feelings, you give them the power to define your worth. You give them the ability to control how you see yourself. And that is a dangerous place to be. When someone manipulates you emotionally, they don't just hurt your feelings in the moment, they create a ripple effect that spreads through your entire sense of self. It's like a virus that infects every part of your emotional being, leaving you feeling drained, uncertain, and broken. You begin to second guess your choices, your values, your boundaries, and even your desires. You become unsure of who you are and what you stand for because someone else has altered the lens through which you view yourself. Your self-worth, which should be unshakable, becomes dependent on the validation of someone who is only interested in keeping you in a place of emotional submission. The truth is, you can't rely on others to define your value. No one has the right to make you feel less than who you are. It is not your job to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's narrative. You were created with purpose, with strength, and with the capacity to love and be loved in return. You must reclaim your worth and recognize that no person, no matter how close, has the power to strip you of your inherent value. You are enough. And when you understand that, when you firmly plant your feet on the solid ground of your own worth, you'll stop playing into the silent games that others try to play with your feelings. Your value will no longer be defined by anyone else. It will be defined by you. When you're caught in a web of emotional manipulation, it becomes essential to set boundaries, not as a way of pushing people away, but as a means of protecting your heart, mind, and spirit. Boundaries are not walls, they are guardrails. They keep you safe, they keep you grounded, and they ensure that you don't lose yourself in the unhealthy dynamics of those around you. Boundaries are not just about saying no when something doesn't feel right, they are about saying yes to yourself, about choosing to prioritize your own well-being over the needs of those who seek to manipulate your emotions. Without these boundaries, you risk giving too much of yourself to others and losing sight of who you are in the process. The danger of not setting boundaries is that you may begin to tolerate behavior that you know deep down is damaging. People who play with your feelings silently will often push the limits, testing how far they can go before you stand firm. They will cross lines, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unknowingly, and if you don't establish limits, you may find yourself tolerating things you should never accept. It may start small with little moments that don't seem like much at first. A vague text, an unexplained silence, a comment disguised as concern but dripping with manipulation. Each time you allow those moments to slide by without speaking up, you reinforce the idea that this behavior is acceptable. Slowly, you begin to lose your voice, and when you lose your voice, you lose control over your own feelings and your own life. Boundaries are about recognizing that you deserve respect, that you have the right to protect your emotions, and that your time and energy are valuable. They send a message not just to others, but to yourself, that you are worthy of being treated with care and consideration. Setting boundaries doesn't mean being cold, distant, or uncaring. It means that you love yourself enough to refuse to accept anything less than the respect and honesty that you deserve. It means you value your peace of mind more than engaging in games that drain your energy and manipulate your emotions. When you don't set boundaries, you give others the power to control your feelings, to shape your reality based on their whims and desires. But when you set boundaries, you take back that control. You reclaim the power to decide what you will and will not tolerate. You learn to recognize when someone is crossing the line, and you have the strength to assert yourself. You teach others how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. People will only respect you to the degree that you respect yourself, and if you allow them to walk all over you, you're teaching them that their actions are acceptable. Setting boundaries is not always easy. It requires courage to stand up for yourself, especially when others are used to you being passive, quiet, or accommodating. There may be moments when people push back, when they try to guilt trip you into thinking that you're being unreasonable. But you must stand firm, knowing that it's not unreasonable to expect basic human decency and respect. The key is consistency, holding your ground every time someone tries to test your limits, ensuring that your boundaries are clear and unwavering. When you set boundaries, you are not only protecting your emotional health, but you are also setting a standard for how you expect to be treated in all areas of your life. You are sending a message to the world that you value yourself enough to demand respect, to demand honesty, and to refuse to be manipulated into playing emotional games. The power of boundaries is transformative. It allows you to reclaim your peace and your power and to live a life that reflects your true worth. When people play with your feelings silently, it's important to understand that their behavior often stems from their own struggles and insecurities. It's not necessarily about you, it's about them. They manipulate because they are trying to hold on to something they fear losing control, power, or a sense of emotional stability. People who play these subtle emotional games do so because they need to maintain a certain narrative in their lives, one where they remain in control and you are left questioning your own reality. Their motives are often rooted in deep-seated fear of vulnerability, fear of intimacy, or fear of being hurt. They don't know how to express their emotions in healthy ways, so they resort to manipulation, hoping to protect themselves from facing the very things they're afraid of. These individuals may never come out and tell you what they truly want or need from you. Instead, they let their actions speak louder than their words. They test the boundaries of your emotional availability without being direct about their intentions. The silence they impose on you, the games they play with your feelings, are all strategies to keep control over how much they give of themselves. In their world, if they can make you feel uncertain or unsure of your place in their lives, they can maintain the upper hand. It's not about love or care. It's about their own need for emotional dominance. They want to be able to pull you close when it suits them and push you away when they feel vulnerable. They want the power to manipulate your emotions without having to confront the reality of their own feelings or vulnerabilities. What makes this even more challenging is that their behavior is often so subtle that you don't even realize you're being manipulated. They might not even understand why they do it, but their actions speak volumes. They may act distant or make you feel like you're the problem, all the while hiding their own fears behind a veil of silence. They may withhold affection or support, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to express it in a healthy, vulnerable way. Instead of confronting their feelings directly, they resort to tactics that leave you wondering where you stand, unsure of whether you did something wrong or if there's something deeper at play. Understanding their motives doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help you stop internalizing their actions. It's crucial to realize that their emotional games have nothing to do with your worth. It's about their own inability to express vulnerability, to admit that they too have fears and insecurities. They manipulate because they're trying to protect themselves, but they do it at the expense of your emotional well-being. Once you understand this, you can begin to separate their actions from your own sense of self. It's easy to take it personally when someone plays with your feelings, but in reality, their actions are a reflection of their own struggles, not a reflection of who you are. It's their fear of rejection, their fear of being seen as weak, or their fear of being hurt again that drives them to manipulate and control. And once you recognize this, you can stop trying to fix them or trying to change their behavior. You can stop trying to figure out what you did wrong and instead focus on setting boundaries, on protecting your emotional health, and on moving forward with clarity. The truth is, their fear doesn't have to become your fear. Their insecurities don't have to define your worth. You have the power to recognize their motives without letting them dictate your emotional state. When you can see the manipulation for what it is, an attempt to control rather than a genuine expression of care, you gain the freedom to protect your heart and move forward with your life. When you are dealing with someone who plays with your feelings silently, one of the most powerful tools you have is emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring or that you close yourself off from all emotions. No, it means you begin to take a step back to distance yourself from the manipulation and control that others try to impose upon you. Emotional detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about finding your inner peace and not allowing anyone to dictate your emotional state. It's about regaining control over your heart, your mind, and your emotions, and recognizing that you have the power to choose how you respond no matter what others do. The silent manipulator thrives on the emotional chaos they create. They feed off your reactions, whether it's confusion, frustration, or desperation. When you give in to their emotional games, you're handing over your peace to them, giving them power to make you feel a certain way. They don't need to say much. A look, a shift in tone, a pause in conversation, and suddenly you're questioning everything. But when you practice emotional detachment, you stop giving them that power. You refuse to be drawn into their drama, and instead you hold on to your peace. You learn to observe their actions without internalizing them, to recognize their emotional manipulation without letting it affect you. Emotional detachment also means not taking things personally. It's easy to feel hurt when someone plays with your feelings, but it's important to remember that their actions are about them, not you. They are dealing with their own fears, insecurities, and issues, and their behavior is often a reflection of their inability to confront their own emotions in a healthy way. When you detach emotionally, you stop internalizing their issues as your own. You stop assuming that their behavior is a reflection of your worth or your actions. You begin to understand that their inability to communicate honestly or openly is not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. Another aspect of emotional detachment is learning to manage your expectations. When you allow someone to silently play with your emotions, it's easy to start expecting things from them that they are not capable of giving. But you may hope that they will suddenly treat you with the kindness and respect you deserve, or that they will open up and communicate honestly. But when you emotionally detach, you stop expecting things from them that they have consistently shown they are unwilling or unable to provide. You stop putting yourself in the position where their behavior can hurt you because you no longer rely on them for your emotional fulfillment. You start to find that fulfillment within yourself and your own sense of worth and self-love. Emotional detachment also creates space for healing. When you're caught up in the emotional tug of war that comes with silent manipulation, it's difficult to move forward. You're stuck in a cycle of doubt, pain, and confusion, always waiting for the next emotional shift. But when you detach, you give yourself the opportunity to heal. You stop letting their actions dictate your emotional state and begin to focus on your own growth and well-being. It's in this space of detachment that you can truly find clarity about what you want, about who you are, and about what you deserve. Ultimately, emotional detachment empowers you to take back control of your life. You stop being a passive participant in someone else's emotional gain. You take responsibility for your own feelings and stop allowing others to pull you into their web manipulation. So this doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring for yourself in a way that protects your peace, your heart, and your mind. And in doing so, you reclaim the power that was always yours. When you are confronted with someone who is silently playing with your feelings, it's important to understand that you must protect your peace at all costs. Peace is not just a state of mind, it's the foundation from which you operate in life. Without peace, you become vulnerable to manipulation, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. The person who plays with your feelings is trying to disrupt your inner calm, to stir up your emotions, to control the way you think and feel. But the truth is, your peace is your most valuable asset, and you have the power to defend it. You have to be intentional about safeguarding your peace. It starts by understanding that your peace is not dependent on anyone else's behavior. It's not about waiting for someone to treat you right before you can feel good about yourself. It's about deciding that no matter what others do, you will maintain your calm, your clarity, and your sense of self. When you let someone manipulate your emotions, you are allowing them to control your inner world, and that's where they begin to win. But when you take ownership of your peace, you are taking back control over how you react, how you feel, and how you allow others to affect you. The first step in protecting your peace is recognizing the situation for what it is. When someone plays with your feelings silently, it's often a tactic meant to destabilize you, to create uncertainty and doubt. Their actions are designed to push your buttons, to make you question your value, to get you to chase after something they're not willing to give. But once you realize what's happening, you can begin to create a mental and emotional distance. You don't need to engage in their emotional drama. You don't need to try to fix their behavior or justify your feelings. Instead, you can step back and view the situation objectively, choosing not to let their manipulation disturb your peace. It's also important to recognize that protecting your peace doesn't mean avoiding conflict or shutting people out. It means creating boundaries that prevent others from crossing into your emotional space. When you set these boundaries, you are showing yourself the love and respect you deserve. You are no longer willing to sacrifice your peace for someone who refuses to treat you with the dignity you've earned. Protecting your peace means knowing when to say no, when to walk away, when to stop investing your time and energy into someone who is playing with your emotions. Another key part of protecting your peace is practicing self-care. You cannot protect your peace if you are emotionally drained, mentally exhausted, or spiritually depleted. You have to take time to recharge, to refill your emotional well, and to reconnect with yourself. This may involve spending time alone, engaging in activities that bring you joy, or seeking support from trusted friends and family members. When you take care of yourself, you fortify your spirit and build the resilience necessary to stay centered no matter what others do. Finally, protecting your peace is about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone make you feel less than what you are. The person who plays with your feelings silently may try to make you question your value, but you have to remember that their manipulation is not a reflection of you. It is a reflection of their inability to communicate, to love, and to be honest. When you protect your peace, you refuse to let their actions define who you are. You choose to live in the truth of your own worth, to stand firm in your own power, and to never let anyone take away your peace for their own gain. Your peace is your power. When you protect it, you empower yourself to live in freedom, in joy, and in truth. And that is the most powerful position you can stand in.